Hello, and welcome to episode 24 of the SomerKnits podcast. Welcome back to stormy Oklahoma. It's been raining and thundering and lightning this morning, and it might start up again, so apologies if it gets loud. And also, my old man dog, my tiny little pug chihuahua, has been rather fussy, and you might hear him having a bit of a fit. He's decided he needs to sit behind me again. So I know it is earlier than normal for me to be recording again, but I don't have to be at work until later, and my kids are both gone, and my husband left for work, and I have done a lot of knitting recently, so I just thought we could sit down and have a little chat. Normal podcast format, just earlier than usual. For returning viewers, I thank you so much for being here again and all your support. And for new viewers, thank you so much for joining me. Every like, subscribe, and comment just means the world to me, so thank you so much ahead of time. If you enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up because that does help me to grow my channel. It helps with visibility. And also, just if you have any questions or anything at all, feel free to leave a comment. Also, in the show notes, there is a variety of ways to contact me, including Ravelry and Instagram and email. So if you have anything at all that you need, there are ways to get a hold of me. I will start with what I'm wearing, and then I will probably take it off because it is hot and muggy today. But I felt a little weird starting with no knitwear. So for people who've been with me a while, you might remember my easy Eyelet cardigan from last spring. I started last spring. It took me, I think, most of the summer to get off Sleeve Island and finish it. But it is a cotton acrylic blend. It's very, very stretchy and springy. It's a yarn that I don't believe is made anymore. It is Nashua Handknits Cilantro. And so it's an Aran weight cotton, and I had an entire bag of it, and it took me years to figure out what to do with it. And I finally settled on this cardigan. And it is a lovely cardigan. The cotton does mean it's a little heavy, but it is great in my office in the summer when it gets a little bit over air conditioned and I get really cold. So it is a great one to throw in my bag. But for now, I'm going to toss it over there because it is just too hot to wear it. I have a half-finished object since last time. I actually have a couple of half-finished objects since last time. So I'm going to start with those and then show the progress that I've made on some of my other things. And I just have a couple of quick acquisitions, and I want to share my plans for those with you. So let's dive right into the half-finished objects. The first one was my summer sock camp cast-on, and that was the Weekend Shorty Socks by Summer Lee Design Co. So I did a Southern Skeins sock set that was this multi here and this turquoise, and then I grabbed a random yellow and pink mini that seemed to go well with it to do more contrast colors. The pattern is written for up to 6 colors, I think, but I just stuck with these. And I did the size small, which I can't remember the stitch count off the top of my head. But, and then I counted it just this morning. I have a 58 row from the end of the gusset to where it starts in just stockinette rounds to the beginning of the toe. I have a 58 row foot. And I have not blocked this one yet. I have a progress keeper on it from Woolly Witchcraft. And it's so pretty. It doesn't want to stay turned around right now. but I don't think I ever remembered to show those when I received them. She does some beautiful stitch markers and progress keepers, and I got a little set that was all moon theme. So I put this progress keeper in to mark when I started. I'm actually working a youth opera this week. So when I started there, which coincided with both of my kids being gone. So I put a stitch marker in to mark that start, and I did the entire foot one evening, and so then I just did the toe when I got home. And I did weave in all the ends. I'm not going to leave that until the second sock is done. I finished that. I just haven't blocked it. So I'm going to leave this marker on there. This is where I finished the gusset decreases and began the foot, in case I forget how many rows I did in the foot. And that way it's easy to count again, because sometimes it's harder to find exactly where you went straight into stockinette. I know it's doable, and I have, but just for my own ease, I'm going to leave that light bulb stitch marker there, and that way I can count up my rows or rounds. Anyway, it fits great. I mean, it's not blocked yet. There is definitely some negative ease, but I wanted that. I like my socks to like fit and not slouch on my foot. And I'm excited to start the next one. I'm not going to pattern it exactly the same. I think I'm going to start with the yellow and then go to the pink and then do the turquoise for the heel. Obviously the multi for the foot again, and then the pink and the yellow. So I think that's what I'm going to do to make them sisters, not twins. But I did enjoy this pattern. It's very well written. I think it might even be a free pattern from Summerly. So check that out. She has her patterns on Ravelry, but I think also has her own website. Anyway, go check her stuff out. She is also teaching a Knit Stars masterclass, and filming for that starts very soon. If you are familiar with Knit Stars, you can purchase whole seasons, and there are all these different technique classes, and she is doing a sock series for Knit Stars this year. So if you aren't familiar, check out Knit Stars. If you're really into online classes and stuff, that might be a really good option for you. So I still have the rest of those yarns in my Fireflies bag from Southern Skeins. I have been using all of my Southern Skeins bags this week because I've been keeping 3 or 4 projects in my backpack at once. And so larger project bags or padded ones can take up quite a bit of space. So I've put everything into these little cinch sacks, and that way I can stuff more things in my bag at once. And I do usually carry my finished sock around while I'm working on the second one, just as a habit, because that way I can reference what I did. Because a lot of times I don't follow patterns exactly. In this case, I pretty much did, except for the number of contrast colors. But I do like to keep that sock with me so that I can reference what it looks like and make sure that they're going to come out nicely. Let's see. It might take me a second to find. I have this giant basket of knitting projects behind me. Yes. So in this birdhouse bag from Southern Skeins, I have the daily socks, also by Summerly Design Co. And these are the socks that I'm doing for my son. And since he is gone and I can't have him try them on, instead of Kitchenering the toe, I have just put the stitches onto a holder that I happen to have in my bag at the time. I needed the needles in order, or I thought I needed the needles in order to finish the toe of my weekend shorty socks. However, because I did those on, back up, slow down. I did my weekend shorty socks on 9-inch circulars in a 1.25 or 2.25 millimeter, size 1 US. And I needed something to do the toes, and I thought that these were on a 2.25 millimeter. It turned out they were on a 2.5 millimeter needle. So I didn't use it to do the toe of my weekend Shorty socks. I actually dug out some DPNs and did the toe that way. And that's always fine. I enjoy DPNs. I just find them less portable, so I don't use them as often. But I do actually enjoy knitting with DPNs. But these are the daily socks. I don't know if you can see the texture there. It's very visible in person despite all the striping. The texture is fairly obvious in person. And maybe when I block it and have it stretched out on a sock blocker, you'll be able to see it better. But I want to try these on his foot because I definitely made them longer than his last pair of socks because kids, they grow. So before, and just in case that I need to rip back and redo the toe, which wouldn't take long at all, I just want to try them on his foot and make sure we're not going to have a wad of fabric at the toe of his shoe. So I have not started the second one, and I have not Kitchenered the toe, but this is basically a half-finished object. I'm counting it. And these were started before summer sock camp, so they do not count. But my weekend Shorty socks were cast on the day of summer sock camp cast-ons, so I definitely want to finish them during the, I know I have till the end of August, but during the summer sock camp time. I was actually intending this morning to cast on the cuff and at least do the first couple of rows, rounds, just to make sure that I had them on the needles and try and combat that second sock syndrome. But I just didn't get to it yet. So I might later today. I think that's it for half finished objects. So my works in progress are going to be familiar, but have definitely moved along. So on the test knit I'm doing for Herbgarden Knitwear of the Sunkissed CT, you will remember, if you are a repeat viewer, that I had split for sleeves and was so glad I had split for sleeves by the last episode. But I did the same thing here, and I put a progress keeper on when I started working this show, and my kids also went out of town. So one reason I put this little, and it's from Southern Skeins, this little teapot. One reason I put this progress keeper here was I just wanted to be able to visualize the growth. I wanted to be able to see that it was coming along. So it helped me a lot to be able to, at least I think, had I split for sleeves at the last episode? I don't even remember. Anyway, I had split for sleeves, I had done some rounds, and I really just wanted to be able to visualize the growth. Because sometimes when you're into the body of something and you're just doing the same thing over and over, in this case it's linen stitch, a lot of times it's stockinette, but it can be hard sometimes to see the growth when you're in that long part of the body phase. And this is a summer tee, and it's fairly cropped, so the body isn't going to be that long anyway. But I don't know how well you can see. It is linen stitch, and so even though you're using a largish needle for the weight of the yarn, which is a lace weight, it's a very because it takes 2 rounds to do 1 round, the fabric ends up denser than you would think with that needle size, so it takes a bit longer, it feels like, to see growth. So in order to visualize the growth on the body of this, I did add the progress keeper, and now I can see that I have done a couple of, more than a couple of inches of work on it this week alone. Whereas before it was getting hard for me to visualize the progress. And I'm keeping that in another one of my little Southern Skeins bags. It happens to be the one that came with the tea progress keeper. I love tea, and I love bright colors, so I was very excited by this bag. But I temporarily moved this out of my rows and seams bag because I needed to be able to fit multiple projects in my backpack. I did not want to waste any of my sitting time But I also didn't want to get super bored of one project or my hands decide they needed a different movement. So that's a work in progress that I am very proud of. And I know the Testknit isn't due until the end of the month, but I do hope to finish it up early. My next work in progress, which I showed the very beginnings of, I believe, on the last podcast. If I didn't show the beginnings, I might have talked about my intention. I did not review the last podcast to see what I'd shown. I believe I showed the beginning. But it was only a week ago, right? Yes, only a week ago. I am working on my Peter Cottontail self-striping muscle burrow hat. And I love it. I love it. The pastels are just gorgeous, and I love how it's coming along. It's definitely just to the knit round and round and round, make a giant tube phase, which is awesome. I needed something I could do without looking, that I could start and stop with no issues, and that's why I had cast this on and gotten past the increases. So I thought that this would be my main focus while I was working the show, but I've gotten to where the linen stitch is so rhythmic and easy that I've been doing that instead because I know it needs it. I have been carrying this one around for when I only have time to do a few stitches and not time to count or pay attention to a pattern or a chart or anything else. So one reason I wanted to film again today is I know in the title of my last episode, I put the Oddball along, and then I completely failed to talk about it. The Oddball along is a knit along being run by NJ Knits and Caroline's Knits, and Naomi and Caroline just started this super casual knit along to use up those oddballs you have in your stash, or those super precious skeins that have just been sitting there because you just couldn't figure out what to do with them. So they're single skein projects for the most part, or odds and ends type projects. In this case, for me, it's a single skein project because I had purchased this self-striping sock yarn in Montana. When I went to Yellowstone in February, yes, in Bozeman, Montana, at a local yarn store that I only had like 15 to 20 minutes to run through, and that was all the time I had there. Anyway, I had bought a couple of sweaters quantities, which I've shared on here before, but I'd also bought this self-striping yarn, and it was just so beautiful that I almost couldn't make it into socks. Also, even for a sock yarn, it is super fine feeling. Like, very, very fine, even for a sock yarn. So I wasn't sure. I mean, maybe it would hold up fine, but I would have probably had to go down to a 0 or a 00 to get a decent solid fabric from it for socks that wouldn't wear through just like instantly. But since it was a souvenir skein and so beautiful and everything, I thought that it would just make the most lovely muscle burra. And I don't know about you, but I swear every other yarn I pick up, I'm like, oh, that would make a really lovely muscle burra. And I know I've said that before. But I could make 100 muscle burras. Hopefully my family wants muscle burra hats because that's where it's at right now. Anyway, I love how it's working up. It's so easy on the hands. I'm really enjoying it. I did have to go down to size 2.5, 3mm needles because I tried 3.25mm needles and the fabric was just too loose and too uneven, and I didn't feel like it was going to make a good finished fabric even after it was blocked. So went down to 2.25s. Very much appreciate that the pattern now has finer gauges in it than it did when I first purchased it. It is absolutely worth buying. It is a wonderfully written pattern. Any kind of yarn. I'm planning to also try using a DK weight yarn for it. I've ordered some yarns, some rainbow yarns that are not here yet, but I'm very excited about them. And I think at least one of them is going to be a Musselburgh hat. But let's see. So that is also in a Southern Skeins bag. I believe the theme for the month when I got this one was wine. I think. I can't remember exactly. But this way I can stuff 3 or 4 projects into my backpack at once and everything fits and is lightweight and easy to carry. So that's it for works in progress. I think casting on the second sock for the weekend Shorty socks and having the Musselburgh going and the Sunkissed CT is enough for right now, I think. But I have cast on plans anyway, and I want to share them with you because I had been going back and forth on what I want to do for my mom's birthday. And she loves the socks that I made her last year and wears them all the time. However, she has mentioned that they are not her everyday color scheme. And that's probably true. They are a red, white, and blue sock yarn that I had in my stash, and they were using the Thicksgiving socks pattern. I forget if they were the vanilla or the ribbed, but I think they were the vanilla from Summerly Designs. And originally I had started them for my sister and they came out a bit too big. So then I was like, oh, I could finish them for my mom. Sorry, I totally just kicked the chair that the computer's sitting on. But so I finished them for my mom and gave them to her for Mother's Day last year, thinking, okay, they're a thick sock. She would probably wear them around the house. So I wasn't too worried about the color scheme. But she wears them with boots to where about this much of the sock sticks up past the boot, sometimes a bit more. So they look cool with the boots. It's just that they're not colors that match everything that she has. So I thought, okay, well, first I offered to teach her to make socks, specifically DK weight socks, because she doesn't think she could do tiny needles and traditional sock yarn, but that's neither here nor there. I did offer, and she said maybe. But I thought, okay, I should make her another pair of socks, even though it's summertime and in Oklahoma it's going to be too hot for her to wear them because her birthday's in July, and so I do need to get started very soon. But I thought, okay, I will find yarn in my stash that suits her better. And I found a few options, but nothing that just like screamed at me, this is the one. So I had done some Instagram browsing and one caught my eye and I kept going back to look at it and just couldn't commit. And then a friend of mine was going to the yarn store that this dyer owns and teaching a class. And I was like, okay, if you're going to be there anyway and I won't have to pay shipping and you want to be my yarn mule, I will order the yarn. So on Saturday, while my friend Jane was there to teach class, I called and ordered a skein of yarn from a chick that knits. But since I was ordering one skein, I might as well order 2 skeins, right? And then if I was going to order 2 skeins of yarn, I might as well get the coordinating minis. I mean, am I wrong? So I'm going to apologize for the crinkling. Jane brought me my goodies yesterday, and they are, oh, I dropped one. Hold on, sorry. They are even better in person than online. I feel like the pictures online are a little dark. So I'm going to try and show these and hopefully the color comes across really well. But the first one is called Tropical Flowers. These are from the Purposeful Pooling collection. So Tropical Flowers. I think that's reading really well on screen, actually. Deluxe Sock Yarn by a chick that knits. You can see it's got the blue, the pink, the yellow fading into almost an orange in there. And predominantly it's this dark tealy color. And I think it's just going to be beautiful. Her deluxe sock yarn is 85% superwash, extra fine merino, and 15% nylon. She recommends a needle size 2.5 or 4 millimeter. It's an extra squishy sock yarn, so it's 393 yards per 100 grams. It's just slightly thicker than most sock yarn. And it definitely has wonderful squish to it. But in the photos online, the example photos, there's a pair of socks that's knit with contrast. I believe it's heels and toes. And the listing online even shows it with the coordinating mini. However, the listing is only for this skein. So if you go to look up the Tropical Flowers on a chick that knits, it is a little deceiving. The photo shows this skein with a mini, but the listing is actually only for this skein if you read the fine print. So when I called the store, because in the listing it does not tell you what color the coordinating mini is, which I did mention to them and hope they update. But the coordinating mini for the Tropical Flowers is their fuchsia. And so I got a 20-gram mini to go with my Tropical Flowers so that I can do heels and toes. I'm also thinking I will do the first 2 rounds, like cast on and do a round in the hot pink and then go into this. And actually, I am still going to knit a DK weight sock, even though I went with a fingering weight yarn. I'm going to pull from the inside and outside of the skein, and I think that that will make for some interesting marling. And I'm still going to do a thicker sock because I know that she likes them as boot socks in the winter. So even though it's summertime, doing heavier socks, hopefully the 20-gram mini is enough to still do the first 2 rounds, heels and toes. I'm going to do the first 2 rounds, do the heel, and weigh what's left of the mini, and then potentially do the toe and weigh it again before I Kitchener to make sure that I have enough to do that on the second sock, since I will be holding it double. So in theory, I guess I could have gotten 2, but it was kind of expensive for sock yarn. For me, this was $29 and this was $7, I think. So that made it a fairly expensive sock set. So that would have been $36 if it had been a sock set. So then, because I'd been eyeballing it for a long time online, and I was ordering anyway, I got some of their Summer Skies Purposeful Pooling yarn, and it is showing pretty true to color there. There's a bit more green than I was expecting, but it is gorgeous. And I asked for whichever of their yellow minis coordinated the best, because they had a couple different yellows listed online. Sorry, I know I'm creating shadows every time I hold something out, because I've had to turn on a bunch of lights because it is super gloomy outside. I don't know if you can see. It's just a stormy day. But they sent me Daffodil as the coordinating mini. I think it's close. It's not exact, but it's close. It's close enough, I think, to do heels and toes if I decide to go that route with this. I actually haven't decided 100%. I mean, it could be a really cool muscle burra. But there is a shawl pattern that utilizes this purposeful pooling where you make flowers out of the yellow part as you go, using a special stitch pattern. Anyway, this is the Summer Skies, if I didn't mention the colorway. And it's also the deluxe sock base, and then a 20-gram mini to go with it. So, I think that that's my only acquisitions. My computer screen went black, even though I'm filming, but it woke back up. Anyway, so if I looked funny there for a second, that was it. But I think that that's my only acquisitions that have come since, I mean, it's only been a week. And I wasn't even planning on getting these necessarily. But I do want to go ahead and start my mom's birthday socks because her birthday is in early July and I want to be able to give them to her. And they'll count for summer sock camp. I think I am going to use Kay from the Crazy Sock Ladies DK vanilla sock recipe. I need to see what the fabric feels like knit up held double on size 3 needles because her pattern calls for size 3s and Summer Lee's patterns for her fingering weight held double all call for size 4s. So I need to do some swatching and see how the fabric feels. And I don't usually swatch for socks, so it feels a bit extra, but I need to see how the fabric feels because I don't want stiff, uncomfortable socks for my mom. And also, you know, making socks for somebody else is harder to get the exact right fit. But I think she'll love them. I'm very excited about the yarn. I apologize for reflections in my glasses and shadows that they're causing. But I just didn't have it in me to put contacts in this morning. It's just one of those lazy days with the rain and all the things, you know. And a little bit of impromptu podcasting. I hadn't actually 100% planned on this, but when I realized that I had been powering through some things and I wasn't sure I would end up getting to podcast next week, who knows? The summertime is erratic because school's out and my husband's work is a little more flexible and things, so a lot of times there's too many people at home to be talking to myself, talking to the camera. But I hope to still get a number of good episodes out this summer, and I thank you so much for joining me for this. I'd love to know if you are doing any socks for summer sock camp with Kay, the Crazy Sock Lady, and I will put the information below about that. But also, if you have not joined the Oddball along that NJ Knits and Caroline's Knits are doing, it's a lot of fun to see the little projects people are doing to use up their oddballs, their odds and ends. And if you are looking for people to chat with and knit with, and you are familiar with Discord, check out NJ Knits on Instagram and get the link to her Discord server because it is a great place to share oddball projects, to share knitting chat, to talk about your whips. It's just a fun place to meet up. I have joined a few Discord servers and somebody did ask me to share more about that. I'm on 3 right now, and who knows, I'm sure there are tons of others, but there is a very active channel for Heather and Hops. So if you watch her podcast, Kat has a very active Discord server. Then there is the Knitting Hobbit. Ruth is so sweet and wonderful to watch, and she has a fairly active Discord server as well. So those are some different options. Check out those podcasts. Check out their Instagrams for links to their Discord servers because there are places to share whip photos, places to ask questions, places to ask for help. There's knit-alongs. There are threads for other non-knitting related conversations. There are a lot of options there. So if you are looking to connect with other knitters outside of just Instagram or podcasts, then I do recommend checking out Discord and getting on some different knitting related Discord servers. And through Discord, you can also host virtual knit nights. So on Sunday, I actually met up with a few different knitters from all over the world through a knit night hosted by Naomi of NJ Knits. And it was so lovely to chat with everyone. We hung out for like 2 hours. For me, it was the middle of the day. It was like noon, but for other people, it was evening and stuff. And it was just really nice to connect. We had all been chatting a bit in the Discord server, so it was nice to put faces to names and connect with people. So check that out if you're looking for more connection in the wider knitting community. I'm going to go ahead and hop off. I do have a relatively busy day and a number of things to get finished, and a very wiggly puppy behind me. But the first order of business is going to be to go wind that new sock yarn for my mom. So have a wonderful day. If you enjoyed the episode, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, share it with friends. I really appreciate all of your support. And until next time, have a wonderful, wonderful week. And I hope you get to knit on something that brings you a ton of joy.